Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So I'm Roland Becker from a company called Digital SIM. Why we are called Digital SIM is partially to do with eSIM, but also because we have a sister company which is Digital Phone. First of all, I'd like to take you on a journey into the year 2000. So I had the pleasure to be on some young expert exchange program and the pleasure to go to Japan. And by that time, of course, I was checking the local mobile operators, very impressed by NTT Docomo's iMode. And so I bought one of these little mock-ups. It's actually not an iMode, the expert will check it, but that's the one which I had in my box from 2000 to remember of those trips. So now I have a question for you, a little quiz. So what is the special about the SIM card in this phone? So, number one, is it a regular SIM card? Number two, is it an eSIM? Number three, it doesn't have a SIM card at all. So now, hands up, regular SIM card? Who thinks it has a regular SIM card? That's the boring one, yeah. Does it have an eSIM? No? Oh, too many experts in this room. So number three, no SIM card at all? Yes. And then GSM come along, and actually before that, the GSM engineers thought about how could we make things easier to switch a phone. Because if you don't had a SIM card at that time, it was difficult to switch or replace a phone because the operator had to change it in the back end and connect the new phone to your subscription. So now then the subscriber identity module came up. So there is your subscription on this little chip, and then you can just go ahead and change it like this. You know, remember the Nokia? The battery off and on, so you could switch your phone, take it from the SIM card from one phone to another. In IoT, it's more the other way around, maybe. You have a device, you don't want to switch devices. The device is in your machine or your vending or your screen. You want to change subscription maybe after 2 or 3 years, or you have a one-fits-all production for various regions and you don't have that single SIM card that you can use around the world. So you want to be able to just produce one device and decide later on the region, right? That's why we want eSIM and flexibility in M2M IoT. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So, I'm Roland Becker, I'm an electrical engineer. I went to Aachen University, Technical University, not far from here. And again, we're running a company, Digital SIM, looking after small, medium enterprises in Germany, which are catching up in digitization, who are digitizing their applications with machine-to-machine internet connectivity. So what's the right button here? the big arrow, right? So, what kind of eSIM are we talking about today? We heard a lot about standards, and it's a complex thing. We're talking about something that has to do with remote SIM provisioning server. Because as the question was regarding devices, this is what you can use in every device. Because you put in a regular form factor SIM card, it's compatible, but it's dynamic. It has memory slots for various profiles, and you can use the remote SIM provisioning server to download the profiles. So this looks pretty neat. So how can we use that? Well, as I said, why do customers want this? Because after having installed hundreds or thousands of SIM cards or hundred thousands of SIM cards into devices, customers in M2M are really completely locked in. They cannot change their SIM cards anymore. They are in a really weak negotiation position against the operator. Because if they want to change the operator today, they have to go out and change all these SIM cards in all these devices which are spread around the country or even spread around the world. And maybe they are even sealed because they are in agricultural machines protected from dirt and water, and you cannot just go and click the battery and change the SIM card. You have to find somebody really capable of changing the SIM card in that very special machine. So no competition anymore possible. At the beginning you select between operator A and operator B, and then you make a tender, but then it's all gone for years. So a very imbalance of power in favor of the MNO. So the SIM change I mentioned, it has basically three aspects to it. One, it's very labor intensive, so that's clear. So you have to go out, you have to have the people capable and available to do it nowadays, and it costs you around about 100 euros or whatever amount to do it, maybe even more per device. So also you have to have maybe some configuration change, and then you have to do a huge project to change your fleet. You would probably not do it. And if you do it, you're full of hurdles by the operator, because you have signed some sort of contract, a frame contract over maybe 3 or 5 years, and then there's contract lengths on individual SIM cards, and they don't necessarily match. And then you start to change, and then you have extra cost because of overlapping contracts, and you cannot just manage it like on the point. So wouldn't it be great if the SIM profiles are just flying by and being changed with eSIM? So nobody to go out to change it, you just do it all remotely. The project is much leaner because not so much manual work involved. You need some clever guys to do it remotely. But still, you have different suppliers. You have your old supplier, you have your new supplier, and then you still have the hurdles of the different contract lengths, right? So it's still tricky, but it sounds quite okay. It sounds much better than the world before. Oops. It's not existing really, because it's technically there, but the operators, you asked your operator for an eSIM, and then they sold you this eSIM, remote provisioning, and 2 years down the road you ask like, okay, now I want to do some SIM change, so what's available? Oh, we have this SIM profile from our sister company in that country. You can remote provision that. Okay, I want something else. Oh, we don't have a contract with that operator in that country. Okay, why not? Oh, because it's a huge cost to align to connect our two provisioning servers, and we have to pay a lot of money, they have to pay a lot of money, and that's why we don't do it. Oh, that's sad. So, really bad. So, things are evolving. But this is what I have learned from operators when they have offered eSIM on M2M. And I think I saw it on the slide at my speaker before, similar statement. So what about MVNOs? So MVNOs are more independent, and they have an advantage because they can purchase SIM profiles from various operators. And this is actually a chance for MNOs to sell their connectivity through that channel, because it's much easier than to go into that many-to-many relationship between 500 operators around the world connecting their platforms to one another. So you just put the SIM profiles on the remote provisioning server of the MVNO, and that way there really is a selection of profiles available today. So we have access to more than 10 profiles, which sounds little, but it's already a lot. And this gives us also the chance to create some competition between MNOs who offer services, and that competition we can bring to the customer. Like a customer who has like tens or hundreds of thousands of SIM cards, a lot of terabytes, and maybe their contract ends, and then you can make a little tender between these 3, 4, 5 companies which are able to provide that profile that this customer needs. And that's enough. You don't have to have competition between 20 or 30 companies. Usually 2 is pretty good and 3 is even better, right? 1 is a monopoly. So that's all you need. And then, again, you make it easier for the MNOs because they don't need to go into that multilateral game. So, and what does it mean for the customer then? Let's look at the SIM change project again. So it's no more labor intensive. That's what we all wanted. Don't have to go on site. Everything is remotely. Organizationally, you need to do something. But the good thing is you need reasonable resources and reasonable time. And you have one partner, the MVNO, that helps you change the profile on the SIM. Maybe the platform allows it even to do yourself. But it's all through one channel, and even the bill will not change because the bill will stay with that MVNO. And then there should be no hurdles because you're probably not paying twice to the same company. So if there's a SIM change at a certain date, then one contract will end and the new subscription will start. It's one bill, so you don't have all these extra overlapping costs. And if you have a multi-regional product, it's not only about like extending the contract and getting better rates. It's from day one, you can have multiple profiles, let's say for Europe, for Asia, for the US. And you start with a bootstrap, you just put this, really looks the same as today's plastic SIM card, you put it in and you produce your device and you get any type of connectivity through your bootstrap profile, which connects you all over the world. And with that, you download the specific profile, let's say for Asia or for the United States. And hopefully we will have all these profiles available in these countries we all know for a permanent roaming restriction, right? So who knows about permanent roaming restriction? Yeah, you know the pain, right? So in some countries, you just cannot roam. So if you had one of those profiles, I think Brazil is pretty ahead with that. So you can get your Brazilian profile downloaded. Other markets are more difficult, but hopefully we'll get them soon. Now, I just started the summary. So the customer has, not the consumer, the customer has many benefits. So enabling competition for the lifetime of the application, allowing the regional customization, and it's all fully remotely managed, and it's compatible to today's devices. And for the MVNO, it's a competitive advantage against the MNO, because MNOs don't like to sell things which are not their own network. I've been working with an MNO on the MVNO business from 2005 to 2016, growing the consumer MVNO from 0 to 5 million subscribers. It's a good business for an MNO, but the MNO still likes to sell their brand, their network first, and they don't care about other networks in other countries. It's just a fraction of their revenue. So this time the MVNO has a real benefit being enabled to do that remote SIM provisioning and to keep a long-term customer relationship. So if you really prove that you use your negotiating power in the benefit of the customer, you will have a long-term relationship and still making money after 3 years, after 5 years, after 8 years, after 12 years, that machine is running. So that's a win-win situation really for everybody, for the customer, for the MVNO, and in the end also for the MNO, who understands that offering profiles to MVNO is a good business. Thank you. Any questions? Yes?
Probably same question, remark as with the previous presenter. You take a presumption, which unfortunately is far from reality, that a lot of devices support this, which they don't. And in reality, cheap IoT devices don't support very well profile changes. Then the second one is, this is okay-ish for static solutions, but solutions that move, on a single profile with a single operator means that they will not have sufficient network redundancy. I mean, you could in theory have 2 profiles, I get that, in the same country, or even 3. But again, it comes back to swapping this profile is a big hurdle in the device code. So are you targeting specific use cases, or is your take, it's one size fits all?
Okay, well, various questions. I hope I get them all sorted. So first question was, the first and last comment is it really compatible to a lot of devices? So we have some experience with that. Maybe you have different. I think it works quite well on industrial routers, which are up to date. Where it doesn't work is like cheap LTE USB devices, unfortunately. But this is where I tell customers, okay, you have an industrial solution, you have a industry-grade screen for €3,500, and then you put a €30 LTE device. Well, okay, you don't have full functionality, right? You don't have remote management, you don't have compatibility for eSIM, unfortunately. Okay, right? So that's my comment on that one. Regarding the in-country roaming and different selection of networks, I actually don't see the challenge, because we have either you use roaming profiles anyways. Yeah, the proposition is not to use an in-country native SIM for each country. That's not the proposition, right? It's still using what you use today in the M2M space, some roaming SIM, whatever, but then you can change it to another roaming SIM or to a native SIM if that country requires that, right? So, and even on top, you can have multi-IMSI profiles as part of your eSIM. So you can even have, as a bootstrap, you can have a multi-IMSI with 2, 3, 4, 5 profiles, and then replace that by another multi-IMSI or single IMSI profile.
I have a question about, you touched on the end about the MNO benefits.
Right.
From an operator's perspective, that tends to have all the benefits of dealing with an MVNO traditionally, all the traffic, most of the traffic. This model is different, let's move away from that and do this. If I'm sitting in my management team meeting and saying the benefits of IoT from an MVNO perspective, what are the key 3 or 4 point words? You just elaborate on that again, please.
Yes. I've been sitting in those meetings, for a long time. So, yeah, it really is the reach. You enlarge the reach of your basically wholesale business by providing these profiles to the MVNOs, to that market and that dynamics, and growing the share that you are getting in that business in comparison to your competitors. And you will make more money on these megabytes or gigabytes than in your rest of your business. This is high margin business for the MNOs, because I have done this consumer and MVNO in a long time, and IoT is, the megabyte price is much higher. You can always easily charge 50, 100, 200% more than your honest earning is per megabyte in your home market.
Yeah.
What?
I have a question about the marketplace. Basically, marketplace of MVNOs buying from MVNOs. In theory, MVNOs can already buy from MVNOs connectivity. It's not a big pain. The biggest pain is just having marketplace for all, like Booking.com of eSIMs, where you can just go and buy eSIM from anyone, local, anytime, anytime you need. So, what I think this marketplace concept should be way wider.
Honestly, I think in some years there will be something like that, and there will be APIs, and then you just click and download and provision And the question is really if it's going very far, if you still need MVNOs for that. So hopefully that will be
MVNOs are the sellers, basically.
Yeah, but maybe there is a marketplace in 10 years and then you don't need an MVNO because the customer can go to the marketplace, right? But in B2B and in M2M, there's still, I mean, a lot of consulting and all that stuff. So that's why I hope and I believe that MVNOs still have a right to be in the market. Sorry? Yes.
That's one problem if we do some end-to-end device and we have another end-to-end device and if I already change every year, so I have to change the profile.
Yes, if you have a device, an IoT device, and the MVNO is you buy from the MVNO, you buy this special EU ICC SIM card. Then you can go to your MVNO in 1 or 2 years and say, I want a different profile. So please put a different profile on my device because I want to send the profile the device somewhere else, or because we want to renegotiate the price. Oh, okay. If you want to change the MVNO, yeah. That depends on the standard that you're using. So with today's standards, you cannot change the MVNO. Which is good for the MVNO. But we will get to the new standard where the remote provisioning server, which is now tied to the SIM forever, that in the future with the new standard that can be changed. But still it's good for the MVNOs because you even have a wider choice of SIM profiles to offer.
Okay. So we need to go to the next one. So thanks a lot, Roland.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's obviously a next to the